Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Espresso with me, Darius and Anucauskas. First of all, of course, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had a fantastic celebration. Yep. So as always, we're now starting our Traders Espresso every morning. Of course, the first one for 2019. So I hope this year is going to be a much better one than the previous one. So for everybody, of course. Of course, right now we'll have a look at the charts as always, the usual. But before we start looking at that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the FTSE 100 here. So looking at this chart, you can see that last year, or should I say last year, and on Monday it kind of traded nowhere here and kind of ended up the day just like with a small little daily candle here, and probably that's understandable given the 31st of December, the New Year's Eve. So we could see some more activity probably today. So, and looking at the cash index where it's trading right now, it is trading currently slightly below the 66.75 zone, so a quite important area of support here. So in a way, this is the level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, because if this gets back above it, if this gets back above the 66.75, we could see maybe a reversal back up here, maybe a test of this 21 EMA here shown as the yellow line, which is around the 67.90 level. But as you can see by the arrow that I've got here drawn, this would be our gateway here towards higher levels. We would need to see a nice good break here above the 67.90 level first, and then we'll consider a possible move higher here. Certainly it kind of in a way puts us here right now in a more of a neutral spot. So in terms of the downside, well, we need to see a nice good drop here, not only below the 66.10 level, and just going to remind you what that level was here, going back into way back here into history. So the 66, where is that? I've just lost the level here. So the 66.10 level was marked here by the lows of the August 2016, so from which you can see that the index managed to reverse back up here sharply and move higher. So in a way, that's why we're going to keep a close eye on the 66.10 level. But to be honest, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could in a way keep your eyes on the December lows, which we had near the 65.35 level, and this could be your gateway towards much lower levels. So in a way, for now, given the fact that we are quite oversold here in the short run, of course, we could maybe see a bit of a comeback here, maybe a bit of a correction back to the upside, where if that happens, of course, this is where we will aim for this level that I was just talking about, the 67.90. A nice good pop above it could open the path towards higher levels, or even actually going all the way here towards this medium-term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 8th of August. So in a way, of course, the overall outlook here still looks bearish, and of course, as long as this line is going to remain intact, or even actually the slightly longer term one here, it's a bit of a tentative one, but nevertheless something that we're going to keep an eye on, and that was taken here from the highs of the 22nd of May. But basically, first, of course, we're looking at this line, this medium-term downside resistance line. So as long as it remains intact, we could see maybe further declines here in the long run. But for now, from the very short-term perspective, there could be maybe a bit of a correction here to the upside. But again, in order to consider that idea, we need to see a nice good pop here above the 67.90 level, and only then we'll kind of aim for slightly higher levels. But on the downside, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could in a way keep your eyes on the lows of December here near the 65.35, and then a break below that could confirm a forthcoming lower low. So So quite an interesting developments happening in the equity markets. So yep, let's keep on monitoring that. Platinum now, one very interesting precious metal or commodity or whatever you want to call it, but in looking at this, of course, judging by gold and silver, of course, I mean, those two are popping nicely to the upside, of course, acting as those safe havens. So platinum here is slightly stuck here, let's put it that way. It's still stuck here below this, not only below this medium-term upside support line taken from the lows of August last year, 2018, of course, but also it's stuck here below this little short-term downside resistance line taken from the peak of the 7th of November, and in a way it seems like it's kind of waiting for its moment of truth, or you can put it that way. Of course, for now we're just gonna stay neutral on it, but just wanted to kind of run it past you guys, just to kind of show you that we could maybe see something interesting here, maybe a nice good pop here either to the upside, or maybe a nice good drop, sharp drop to the downside, especially if we're still trading below this downside resistance line, the short-term downside resistance line. If this moves lower and breaks below these 781 level, or even actually just slightly below that, we do have the 778. So in a way, keep your eyes on this little area, guys. A nice good drop below this could open the path towards the lows that we saw here near the 4th of September, or even actually going to go all the way here towards the lows of the 16th of August. And now the 16th of August was marked here near the 755 level. So could be a nice potential area for a test, but for now, guys, of course, keep your eyes on this downside resistance line. If suddenly this gets broken and the commodity travels higher and breaks above the 808 level marked by the highs of the 13th of December, now this is where it could become very interesting for the bulls, and at least, of course, in the short run. And this is where we could then aim for higher levels, or even actually going all the way back here towards this medium-term downside resistance line for a quick test underneath. So keep your eyes on this one. Let's see how this performs. But like I said, it is a very interesting one, a very interesting commodity, precious metal, and it seems, like I said, it seems like it's waiting for its moment of truth. Jumping into Ripple, another very interesting crypto. So looking at this daily chart, of course you can see that in the mid-December we had a nice push here higher, managed to reach the area near the 0.4665 area, something like that, approximately there, which it found its resistance here and retraced back down. So certainly for now, even though it dropped lower here towards the around on the 27th of December, it dropped towards around the 0.34 level, but kind of failed to create a new lower low here, if you would take into consideration this lowest point here of December. So in a way, certainly this continues to look a bit more to the bullish side, but for the upside, of course, we would need to see some good confirmation breaks first, in order to kind of consider a possible further move higher here. So in a way, where we're keeping an eye on, of course, is the 0.3990, or in a way you could round it up towards the 0.40 level. A nice good push above that could open the path towards the 0.4290, or even actually going all the way here towards the 0.4665 area where it found its resistance here in December. And of course, a break above that could lead towards much higher levels, but of course we'll just go step by step. Let's not rush into things. For now, let's continue monitoring this. Let's see how this is going to play out. If I'm going to jump into a 4-hour chart here, just to kind of quickly show you what's happening here, so you can see that it's kind of stuck in this little, maybe it's a bit of a bad range here, but nevertheless kind of a range between the 0.3550 on the downside, approximately there, and on the upside the 0.3990. So of course that's why I'm saying, so we're going to keep a close eye on this 0.3990 level. A nice good push above this could open the path towards these higher levels, but for now, it's just stuck here. Let's continue monitoring it, and we could squeeze something out of it. Jumping into a few pairs, so the USDCAD. Now this is something that I wanted to quickly show you. So this morning already we're having a sharp sell-off here to the downside. Now I was talking about this one in one of my previous videos. So in a way, basically what we're keeping an eye on here is from the very short-term perspective, we do have this upside support line here taken from the lows of the 7th of December, and you can see that this on the 1st of January here, it was broken here to the downside with a gap, but got quickly filled, and we saw this nice push back up here towards the 136.45 area. Today, this morning, we were already trading near the 136.55 zone, but you can see that quickly sold off to the from the early morning here, sold off to the downside, and is now currently aiming for lower levels. Of course, it's now currently breaking this upside, the short-term upside support line. In a way, guys, what you could keep an eye on here, because it's a bit of a tricky one. Because overall it's still kind of climbing higher, but from the short-term perspective, maybe it's actually ready to complete a bit of retracement to the downside. But then again, in order to kind of confirm that, we need to see a nice good drop here below this little area of support near the 135, just let me quickly drag that, 65 approximately there. So a break below that level could open the path towards much lower areas. Of course, this is where we will aim for the 100 EMA here, shown as a green line here on the 4-hour chart. There are some good potential areas of support. Let me just kind of drag a few lines here back up. There we go. So we could in a way target the area around here, around the 134.95, or even actually you could round it up towards the 135 zone. So something like that we will be looking at, but only if, of course, if we get a drop here below the 135.65 area. This is going to be that gateway towards lower levels, slightly lower levels. It will be very interesting to see if it actually happens. On the upside, well, as you can see from a more near-term perspective, you can see that this level here, the 136.60, kind of continued to hold the pair from moving higher even last week, or last week, and also on the 31st of December as well. I mean, it tried to push higher at some point. Yep, managed to push slightly above it, but kind of quickly reversed and moved lower again. So in a way, this becomes the 136.60 level becomes this important area of resistance, which a break of which could open the path towards much higher levels. So for now, guys, keep your eyes on it. Let's see how this plays out. But at the moment, you can see that it's really struggling with the upside, and currently it seems that the bears are dictating the rules. But let's see how this plays out, and let's see what happens with the 135.65 area. Jumping into euro dollar now, the euro dollar is very interesting here. Let me just get rid of a few of these lines. So of course, overall it's still above this a bit of a maybe tentative, or should I say, well, this upside support line basically that got broken here around mid-December, but the rate quickly got back above it. So this upside support line taken from the lows of the 12th of November is still kind of in play. You can see that we've opened with a huge gap here on New Year, and certainly now it's trying to fill it, but you can see that it's currently getting held here by this pivot here, which is near the 114.85 zone. So let's see how this plays out, because if this continues to push higher, and if we get above the 114.85 level, certainly we're going to target the psychological 15 zone, but then we'll go all the way here towards the highs here, near the 115.50 level. This is where it's going to be more interesting probably to watch this pair, because a nice good pop above this could open the path towards much higher levels. But for now, I mean, again, given the kind of the complexity of the whole chart here, it seems that yes, I mean, it wants to travel higher. The only problem is it's currently balancing around this pivot and also slightly below the psychological 115 level. But this is of course going to be something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. A nice good pop above this could open the path towards higher levels here. But on the downside, well, for us to start looking at lower levels in the short run, we would need to see a nice good drop below the 114.43 level, 40 level, something like that. But for a better confirmation, we would probably need to see a drop here below the 114.25. Now this is where it could become interesting for the bears again. At least they could potentially drive this towards this upside support line that I was talking about, and of course for more bears to see, or in order, let's put it that way, to see more bears jumping into this pair, we would need to see a nice good drop here below this upside support line, and then we'll aim for lower levels. But for now, it seems that it wants to try to push higher. Let's see how it plays out with the 115 level. If it breaks it, then that could be great news for the bulls, and if it doesn't, then well, we'll just be more on the cautious side here and take a neutral position. And quickly jumping into GBPUSD, so GBPUSD here, so looking at this, certainly trying to push higher. It's currently above the pivot, which is a bit of a, well, not a bit of a, but it's a positive sign for now. Certainly, of course, all can change. It could drop lower here. So for now, what we're going to keep an eye on here is the 128.10 level on the upside, of course. As you can see, this was the high of the 31st of December. So that we had a nice push on the last day of 2018. So this is going to be our breaking point here for higher levels. This is going to be our level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. A nice good pop above it could open the path towards much higher levels, but for now, certainly it's kind of stuck here again. In terms of the downside, well, we're going to keep an eye on the 127 level. But for those who are more looking for some short-term trades here, you could in a way keep your eyes on this little support area near the 127.20. So if this gets broken, certainly we could see a further push down here. But this, if you are entering a trade somewhere around here, guys, then probably suggestion is to have a tight stop loss, especially if, let's say, this drops towards the 127 level. Probably quickly place your stop loss into break-even zone, so that just in case this 127 area here kind of acts as a good area of support. If this reverses back up here, at least you're not going to lose out. Yep, we could, of course, if this starts breaking the 127 level, further declines could be possible. We could start aiming for the 126.60 or even lower. So for now, guys, of course, be very cautious. Certainly this is looking more positive because it's above the pivot and it's currently trading around the R1. It already managed to reach the R2 today, which is around the 127.75, something like that. And certainly, given the fact that how narrow these levels are here, the R2, the R1, and the pivots, I mean, we could see maybe another push here towards this R2 here, or even actually going higher here towards the upper bound of the Bollinger Band, which is around the 127.95 zone. So at the moment, of course, we are slightly more on the bullish side, but we're going to be very cautious, especially if this drops below the 127.20 level here. So keep your eyes on this one. Okay, guys, I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for watching and listening. Thank you very much for tuning in. So if you want to join me later at my trader's tea time, and that's 14:15 GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a fantastic trading day today, and I'll speak to you later. Bye-bye now.